Okay, so first and foremost, thanks to everyone who turned in yesterday to watch that first Lance McCullers Jr. breakdown video. Huge thanks to Lance also for shouting it out on Twitter. That was awesome. Because you guys seem to enjoy that first one, I wanted to break down another three-pitch sequence that I saw yesterday from Dustin May. Today's going to be a bit different than yesterday. The three-pitch sequence isn't as dominant as yesterday's. Remember, that was arguably one of the most dominant three-pitch sequences I've seen this year so far. But it's going to be difficult to find perfection each time, right? Each day. I want to show you instances also where there are mislocations, but positive results so we can see why. So the very first thing a lot of people think of when they hear about Dustin May is that absolutely electric sinker, right? It gets a heck of a lot of movement, and it's definitely fantastic at striking out Manny Machado, as is evident here and here. Now, things are a little bit different for this first sequence, though, as Jake Lamb, a lefty, is up to bat. The first pitch that Dustin May primarily throws lefties and righties, for that matter, is a sinker. Now, as is evident by Baseball Savant, the first thing Dustin May usually does with that first pitch sinker is go arm side with it. It doesn't take long to find that this is the case, too, as if we go back to Jake Lamb's first at-bat of the game against Dustin May, which is important to remember for later, May does just that. Here's that backdoor sinker for a called strike. Now, if we go to the very first pitch of the sequence we're going to be taking a look at for today's video, we can tell that Will Smith is once again setting up arm side. So why don't we see what happens? My goodness, it's just a filthy pitch. Now, I really can't say with 100% certainty that May missed his spot because sometimes guys have their catchers set up differently. And as you can see, he didn't really hit his spot here. But I can say with 99.9% certainty that he missed his spot. He probably missed his spot here. But it didn't really matter as the sinker has enough movement to it that it catches the outside corner. And I just absolutely love this reaction by Jake Lamb here. He's like, okay. I knew he was going to throw me a sinker. He did. It was a borderline strike. I get it. Let's move on. It's 0-1. Now, we talked yesterday about recognition point and commit point, right? Recognition point being where the batter picks up on the pitch and commit point being where they have to decide to swing. Now, remember, Lamb probably knows a sinker is coming. May throws first pitch sinkers to 61% of batters, to lefties, so I bet he knows that at the recognition point. Now, whereas Seager yesterday was fooled by McCullers' sinker because it looked like it was going to hit him in the knees, Lamb stays in. He doesn't really flinch, but at his commit point, he decides not to follow through with the swing. After all, this isn't an arm side sinker like he thought. It's probably going to be a ball in his mind. It catches the corner. That's Lamb's reaction. We move on. Now, let's take a look at the second pitch. 91-mile-an-hour cutter. Once again, May doesn't hit his location, right? Will Smith wanted a sinker arm side first and then a cutter glove side, and instead he gets a sinker glove side and a cutter pretty much over the middle of the plate. Now, Lamb also likely knew this was coming, and as May throws glove side cutters on 0-1 to lefties more than any other pitch, okay? He throws it about a quarter of the time. It's the most predominant pitch on 0-1 to lefties. I personally think Lamb can't make contact with this because of the late break. If we zoom in on the cutter and add a tail to the pitch, we can see the break that it gets and see that Lamb quite literally swings right over it. Okay, so now May has Lamb 0-2. He's gone sinker, he's gone cutter, and I don't know if he'd be 100% satisfied with the locations of both pitches, but we're 0-2. That's all that matters, right? We're 0-2. There's good reason to believe that Lamb knew what he was going to get on 0-0 and 0-1, but let's take a look at what May throws with two strikes to lefties according to Brooks Baseball. 24% four-seamers, 24% sinkers, 21% cutters, 19% curve. It's quite literally anyone's guess as to what he's going to throw here. Now, to provide full context, let's look at what happened earlier in the game when May had Lamb 0-2. He chose to go with a four-seamer, and he missed. Then at 1-2, he threw a curveball, and he made Jake Lamb do this. It's a disgusting pitch, and May gets the sword, right, in the strikeout. So what are we thinking? Elevate a four-seamer again, or does May know, hey, I got him to look silly on that 1-2 curveball in the first at-bat. Let me see if I can do it again. And what's Jake Lamb thinking? I look silly on that first curveball, so I'm not going to fall for it again because maybe he'll climb the ladder. He's already worked me in twice. Is he going to try and go outside now? So let's take a look. Dustin May opts for the curveball, and while the first strikeout was slightly arm side, this one's slightly glove side. It doesn't look like Lamb knew it was coming, and here's why. Let's take a look at the cutter and curve overlaid. This is exactly what we saw yesterday with Lance McCullers. Just take a look at how well those two pitches tunnel with one another. Lamb may be thinking, oh man, I just missed on that cutter last time, and so help me God if I miss on it again, and I cannot blame him. So before we go, let's see an overlay of all three of these pitches combined. And now let's go ahead and take a look at all three pitches with some tail on them. And last but not least, let's take a look at these with tail and color-coded. So orange is sinker, red is cutter, and blue is curveball. So while May didn't necessarily execute perfectly in this at-bat in terms of his command, he was able to rely on some fantastic movement and his past at-bat with Jake Lamb to be able to retire him on three pitches. Just absolutely awesome stuff.